Question: Is there any question that we live in a fascist dictatorship? Well, in my opinion, we don't. I'm sorry. In my opinion, there is no question. We have we have people being arrested and who are in jail for 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 releasing critical information that the public needs to know of what criminal actions are being taken by the government, by this quote unquote government, this fascist dictatorship. And if that wasn't enough, they're cutting the pipelines of information, critical information, such as Press TV, who was bringing critical information to inform Americans and others around the world of what American and Western governments are doing. Now, understand, when I say governments, I'm making a distinction there. What I'm talking about is the criminal order who controls and places themselves in the physical plane with the labels. So I'm talking about the politicians. And we have 98% of our politicians are quote unquote government who are in there illegally, who have subverted government, and they have made it their own, and they hand down dictates, meaning a dictatorship on what all of the people must do except for themselves. And that, in my book, is a dictatorship. So going back to Press TV, they've handed down, well, not handed down, they are in cahoots and conjunction with companies like Google, who owns YouTube, to stop places like Press TV from giving out critical information. Now, I've waited some time to talk about this because I wanted to see if they would actually correct it. But they haven't. They have not made a correction. They have not allowed Press TV back. And we all collectively are suffering and remaining ignorant of the crimes being taken upon us. We have whistleblowers and journalists going to jail. For what? For giving us crucial information. The information that they tried to suppress but didn't succeed in suppressing. That, in my book, is a fascist dictatorship. We have quote-unquote lawmakers, these politicians, these criminals, making laws that even courts have knocked down or have suspended for further inquiry so that they can make an informed decision. But these laws are basically saying that women have absolutely no rights to their body, no rights whatsoever, and that, you know, even if you miscarriage, which is even if you can miscarriage, you can go to jail for 30 years or more. What is a miscarriage? A miscarriage is something that happens because something happened in the body that was completely out of their control, and the baby was not viable and died before birth. That's a miscarriage. There's no control over that. Doctors don't have any control over it. Nobody has any control over it. Miscarriage is a miscarriage. It's an accident. And to say that you are going to put this human being into jail for 30 years or more for something which is an act of nature is like saying, oh, you get struck by lightning, and the law says you can't get struck by lightning, so thereby you can go to jail for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, or for life. That is the level of insanity. That is the level of criminality. That is a dictatorship. That is a fascist dictatorship. And fascist dictatorships are always bad for everybody. Even the ones who are the base. Because you do something, even the slightest, that irritates them, or is offensive to them, and they can take offense to anything. Think about all those ridiculous movies and TV shows where you see a noble or a royal, and they come out and get upset about absolutely nothing, and you end up paying for it, even though you are a favored member of the society. But somebody higher in power had the ability to go after you for an insane thing, such as them being the asshole, them being the bully, them being the criminal, and then turning it on you. Well, that is what also a fascist dictatorship looks like. So, we have all of this going on. We have ICE, which is got the entire country set up to be a invisible jail cell because they have 100 to more miles of inland into the country that they can virtually make up any law or rule they want. They can break any law or rule they want. They can arrest anybody they want. They can deport anybody they want. They can kill you inside these quote-unquote detention cells or detention facilities, and you're not allowed to make a fuss. Is that not a fascist dictatorship? You have a system of feudalism rising back up where those with the money and those holding the power who can continue to put themselves and others that they have a level with in power, and they can do what I talked about with the old aristocracy and nobility and royals. Basically, they can accuse you of anything and everything, and there are no repercussions you can take except for one, and that is violent reaction. Violent, fatal, and on-the-spot reaction. That is the only thing you can do. And even then, you can be shot and killed. even though you were completely in the right, you can be shot and killed. This is what is taking place in the United States and is also popping up in the Western world, in Europe, in Australia. All of that is a fascistic dictatorships. It means that sanity, rule of law, or any of those niceties that we like to consider do not exist for them. This means that they can walk in, take your child, take your sister, take anybody that they find that they want or that they disagree with, and do whatever they want, which is what the Epstein case shows you. Jeffrey Epstein running a pedophile ring where Clinton, Bush, Cheney, and all sorts of others are named. Hollywood, people in Hollywood. You got princes of England implicated in there. That is 100% oppressive, above the law. No law applies. No commonality applies. No morality, no ethics, no nothing. And when these criminals can do that and more and cause the collapse of the world, of the planet, a recent report by ABC, of all places, reports that there's 1 million. Now, understand, I already knew about this, and it's actually, what I'm hearing is actually even higher. And these are from actual scientists who have been studying this for decades, who have been looking into this for decades. So, but let's just go by ABC. There's 1 million species who are integral to our survival, directly linked to our survival, who are near the point of extinction. So damn close that they might as well be extinct already. So with climate change, which exacerbates the problem of species going extinct and being taken out of the ecosystem, which endangers us, the planet will be fine, but we won't be. But this is the sort of thing that fascist dictators do, because they are above the law. They are above the fray. They are not even human. In their books, they are the epitome of everything. And the rest of us are nothing more than chattel, chaff, and animals. So do we live in a fascist dictatorship? Is there a reason? Is there a point? Is there a sane point where we lash out and we target specifically these criminals? If you can't answer yes, if you can't say enough is enough, if you can't stand up for yourself, let alone other human beings and the very ecosystem that is vital to our continued existence, and you can decry bringing physical harm to others, a small group who is doing the most massive and insane amounts of harm, then you have no real interest in your own life and thereby others. Because that is a false narrative. It's a false dichotomy. It's a falsehood, period. You will not survive. We will not survive if we allow this to continue. And this has been going on for thousands of years. These are the reasons why so many civilizations across time have had points in their lifetime where the majority of them died off because of the insane nature, the insane criminal nature of the few. And when I'm talking few, I'm talking less than 10,000. Far less than 10,000. Actually, far less than 5,000. It is insane to think that that smaller number perpetrating through misinformation, disinformation, no information, pandering and exacerbating the infighting, which keeps us ignorant. When they rob us of intellect by robbing us of education, when they rob us of opportunity for getting information, being educated, when they attack us by way of making sure that we are so busy trying to feed ourselves, clothe ourselves, and just have the basic necessities, and inform ourselves on top of that, when we are all struggling, and to believe that by some measure that there is some equality there would be absolutely wrong, and it is fatal. It has always been fatal. It will always be fatal, and the only time it will stop is when none of us are alive, and the planet becomes a wasteland, which may or may not recover from. But the planet will be there, just no life, no chance of life, or perhaps billions of years later, life will come back. Who knows? But ask yourself, do we live in a fascist dictatorship? And if the answer is yes, and you understand the core of this, of what I've been saying, then you have to understand that violence is not evil. That violence sometimes must be used. Because we already use it. We already use it. But it's always those with the power who use us to do the violence, to prop themselves up, to give themselves more power, more influence, more everything. So if you think that there is no existence of violence, or you can't make the connection, then you don't understand what a fascist dictatorship is. I watched a funny video where Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is at this place, and she's talking to to hardcore conservatives and Trump supporters and racists and so on and so forth. And she's trying to make a connection. And this idiot, this man, I take it back, this man was so ill-informed, so ignorant, so stupid, so insane that he could not make the connection. That he could not even find it in his own self-interest, his own self-enlightened interest. Yet he's accusing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of being a fascist dictator, when he is the one espousing all the talking points, all of the behaviors of a fascist. He's not a dictator, but he's a fascist. He's an ignorant, unaware fascist.